Hello, fellow entrepreneurs. Welcome to my channel where I read and summarize books relating to being a better entrepreneur. I've met no one who I thought was wise who didn't read. I believe reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary. So today, we will be learning from Paul Jarvis's book, Company of One. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Many people associate business success with large corporations, large products, and large CEOs, such as Amazon, the iPhone, and Bill Gates. When you consider success in this light, it can appear to be quite difficult. After all, the chances of you founding the next industry-conquering behemoth, creating the next viral product sensation, or becoming the next multi-billion-dollar startup founder are slim to none. But really, do you want to be that big? Do you want to spend your days making money, discovering new markets, and leading large organizations on an ever-larging scale? Or would you prefer to have the freedom of owning your own business without having to put your life on the line for the bigger is better definition of success? Would you prefer to work a set number of hours per year and spend the rest of your time doing things you enjoy, such as spending time with your family, traveling, or pursuing hobbies? Companies of one reject the growth for the sake philosophy in favor of a more holistic approach to life. This video is broken up into 10 parts. Part 1. Modern capitalism can be summed up in one word: more. Part 2. Traditional small businesses and freelancers are not the same as a one-person business. Part 3. Don't quit your job. Instead, start your own business as a side hustle. Part 4. Instead of the other way around, turn your work into a passion. Part 5. Find your niche and target a specific audience. Part 6. Accept the power of simplicity and individuality. Part 7. Establish relationships with your target audience by learning from them. Part 8. Avoid making large initial investments and instead aim to make a profit ASAP. Part 9. Allow your company to grow like a snowball and make additional investments as it grows. Part 10. Customer service and customer retention should be prioritized. Part 1. Modern capitalism can be summed up in one word: more. On one side of the economic equation is the average consumer, who is always looking for new products and services to consume. On the other hand, there's the average company that's always looking to sell more products and services in order to increase profits. When it achieves one revenue goal, it raises the bar even higher: $1 million, $10 million, and so on. To put it another way, nothing is ever enough. Consumers and businesses in general are driven by an insatiable desire for ever-increasing consumption and growth. There are exceptions to this rule. Some businesses are beginning to say, enough is enough, joining the chorus of consumers who are attempting to reduce their consumption. Instead of endless expansion, they want a more stable, satiable, and long-term growth strategy. These businesses can pursue a financial goal that flips the traditional corporate model on its head by exercising self-control. That goal is straightforward: to generate just enough revenue for their owners and employees to enjoy the level of comfort, autonomy, and free time that they desire in their lives. These businesses are able to revolve around the individuals who run them, rather than the other way around, by turning that desire into the center of gravity around which their operations are focused. Individuals become the business's unit of measurement, a single unit of measurement. We can call them companies of one whether they have a single owner-operator, a team of a few hundred employees, or something in between. Surprisingly, whereas most businesses set ever-increasing growth targets, small businesses set firm growth limits to stay small. Sean D'Souza, for example, is the founder of Psychotactics, a firm that provides consulting services. His profit growth cap is $500,000 per year. Despite the fact that he could make more money if he wanted to, he purposely chose to limit his company's profits to this level. Why not go bigger? To paraphrase rapper Notorious Big, more money, more problems. More profits in general necessitate more production, sales, and customers, which necessitates more employees, infrastructure, and bureaucracy. More exhaustion, supervision, and work time means less comfort, autonomy, and free time. And that defeats the whole point of starting a one-person business. D'Souza, for one, would rather be spending time with his children and taking 3-month vacations. If you feel the same way, starting your own business might be the best option for you. Part 2. Traditional small businesses and freelancers are not the same as a one-person business. A company of one may sound like a fancy way of referring to oneself as a small business owner or a freelancer. But there are key differences between these three types of self-employment. It's usually considered a limited success when a small business stays small. Some small businesses are content with that, but many would like to expand their operations, increase their profits, and become more successful in the sense that bigger is better. Many small businesses would jump at the chance to grow larger if given the chance. Companies of one, on the other hand, would decline them if they had already reached their growth limits. Staying small isn't a sign of failure for them. It's part of their definition of success, achieving and maintaining a self-defined income level. A small business and a one-person company, on the other hand, have one thing in common. They both want to make money. They put a certain amount of time or money into their operations, and if everything goes well, they will eventually get more money out to them. Typically, that investment necessitates a labor investment up front. That can mean designing t-shirts, developing software, or creating an online learning course for a one-person business. Once the products are completed, the company can begin to profit from them without having to do much more work, especially if they are data-based products that can be replicated with a little additional effort. A freelancer, on the other hand, usually stops earning money the moment she stops working. She is paid either per hour or per piece of work that takes a certain amount of time to complete. Her time is money in either case, and her money necessitates time. Unlike a one-person business, a freelancer usually does not profit from her work after it's completed. A freelance web designer, for example, does not get to design a single website and then sell it to multiple buyers. Instead, she works with a single client on a one-time basis. She moves on to the next client or project once it's completed. Meanwhile, a one-man business owner could be surfing while still earning money for work he completed months ago. Part 3. Don't quit your job. Instead, start your own business as a side hustle. From here on out, we'll take a step-by-step look at the process of starting a one-person business from start to finish. We'll look at some of the distinguishing characteristics, goals, and strategies of a successful one-person business along the way. The first step is to do nothing. In other words, don't quit your day job. Your new business, like many other one-person businesses, is likely to have started as a side project. Before you can turn it into a full-fledged company of one and devote yourself to it full-time, it must develop into a sustainable enterprise. Consider Tom Fishburne, a 20-year marketing veteran. He spent his free time doing something he'd loved since he was a kid: cartooning. He did it for the sake of amusement at first. Then he began doing freelance work for clients on weekends and evenings. He didn't quit his day job to pursue cartooning full-time until he built up a solid client list and saved enough money to build a runway buffer, enough money to cover living expenses in the event of a slow month or two. It had been 7 years since then. Since then, he's made twice or even 3 times as much money as he ever did as a marketing executive, all while spending more time with his family and doing something he enjoys, drawing cartoons for other companies to use for marketing. This work is part of his job as the sole proprietor of Marketunist, a small business based in Mary County, California. Tom and his wife run the business together, and they occasionally hire freelancers on a project-by-project basis, but that's about all they've done so far. They have a waiting list of customers, so they can make a lot more money if they expanded their business. Tom and his wife, on the other hand, have no desire to become the next corporate behemoth. They simply want to live their lives to the fullest. Tom's definition of success is cartooning rather than managing a massive workforce or a network of satellite offices. Tom's story teaches us an important lesson. If further growth would require you to make sacrifices that you are unwilling to make, then your one-person business has reached its growth limit. Of course, whether you're just starting out with a side gig, you're still a long way from having to worry about too much growth. Let's look at the next step in your journey while keeping Tom's lesson in mind. Part 4. Instead of the other way around, turn your work into a passion. What's the next step in pursuing a side gig that could turn into a one-person business now that you've resisted the urge to quit your day job? If you don't already have a job, you'll need to find one first. Your first instinct might be to follow the standard advice of business writers and speakers at this point: follow your passion. There's just one small flaw in that advice. Pursuing your passion is unlikely to be a financially viable option unless you are passionate about something that is in demand and marketable. The majority of people's passions are out of step with market demands. Consider the findings of a 2003 study by Robert Vallerand, a psychology professor at the University of Quebec. "What are your passions?" he asked his university students. Most students responded with sports, music, or art, rather than their majors. However, because these fields account for only 3% of all jobs, most of them would be unable to pursue their passions. This reality is both sobering and crucial to remember. You might enjoy tennis, but you're not going to be the next Serena Williams. The same can be said for other hobbies involving activities, from which only a small percentage of people can make a living. You must be pragmatic. Consider what you're already good at and what other people will pay you to do. If you answered nothing, what could you improve on and turn into a marketable skill? It was web design for Paul Jarvis. He wasn't particularly enthusiastic about it. He'd only recently started working at a design firm and had excelled at it. He refined his skill set and became better and better at solving his clients' problems as he left the agency and started a one-man web design company. This gave him a sense of fulfillment and excitement about the work he was doing and the results he was seeing, a feeling that is a form of passion. To put it another way, don't wait for a financially viable career path to emerge from your passion. Instead, focus on identifying and developing a marketable skill set now, and let your passion emerge from the process of refining, mastering, and assisting others with it. Part 5. Find your niche and target a specific audience. You might make a common assumption when identifying and refining a marketable skill set. The more people who want the product or service that your skill provides, the better. After all, the larger the market, the more potential customers there are. However, attempting to appeal to everyone may result in you appealing to no one. Because aiming for the lowest common denominator means making your product or service as universally appealing, and thus generic as possible, your brand's allure is diminished. Even large corporations can be affected. Starbucks, for example, began as a chain of stores that provided customers with the experience of visiting a small, local coffee shop. However, by the mid-2000s, with ever more Starbucks locations popping up on seemingly every street corner and ever more products to choose from, the experience of visiting a Starbucks had become rather mundane. Sandwiches, CDs, and a plethora of fancy drinks began to overshadow high-quality coffee, and its former semblance of a local charm was belied by its ubiquity. The company began to falter as a result of its overstretching. It had closed about 900 stores by the end of the decade. It's scaled back and refocused on its original mission since then, having learned the hard way that you can't please everyone. If that isn't enough to make you reconsider pursuing a mass audience, consider that larger markets attract larger swarms of competitors, making it even more difficult to stand out. Instead, look for a niche. The more specific and smaller your target audience is, the easier it will be to connect with them and gain their trust. It will be easier to learn how to meet their needs the more distinct they are. This will enable you to charge premium prices for your highly customized, expertly delivered goods and services. Kurt Elster, a successful e-commerce consultant, has done just that. He increased his revenue 8-fold by positioning himself as a consultant who works exclusively with businesses that use the Shopify e-commerce platform rather than offering general consulting services to all e-commerce businesses. Consider this. If you are running a Shopify business, would you rather hire a generalist who claims he can work with anyone, or a specialist like Elster who knows everything there is to know about the platform? Part 6. Accept the power of simplicity and individuality. There are 2 more strategies you can use to narrow the focus of your product or service even more. The first is to embrace simplicity as a virtue. Consider the small company Casper, which sells mattresses online, to see its power in action. Mattress companies are abound these days, so what sets Casper apart? To begin with, its target market isn't everyone. It's primarily younger people who want a better night's sleep, but don't want to go to a physical mattress store. Then there's the way it sells its products. Whereas many of its competitors offer a bewildering array of options, Casper only offers 3 mattress styles. Casper presents a simple proposition after narrowing its target audience and simplifying their options. Upgrade your sleep by buying a better mattress online, avoid the hassle of visiting a physical store, and rest easy knowing that you can return it for a full refund if you don't like it after 100 nights. The second strategy entails leveraging your most powerful asset, yourself, to amplify that uniqueness even more. You'll need all the help you can get because, even if you're in a smaller niche, you may still be a small fish compared to your competitors, who may be larger, more established businesses. Fortunately, you can make the most of your apparent disadvantage. Yes, you are just a person, but you also have a distinct personality that allows you to brand your company, product, or service in a distinctive manner. To do so, take a facet of your personality and incorporate it into both your work and the message that surrounds it, so it's present in everything you do, from product design to service delivery to emails, tweets, and customer conversations. Again, simplicity is key. You should be able to describe your personality-driven brand using simple adjectives like youthful, rebellious, sincere, intelligent, elegant, or exciting, which you can then give your own twist to, one that is an authentic expression of who you are. Remember that while your competitors may offer similar skills, products, or services, they cannot duplicate your personality, and it is your personality that will help you stand out from the crowd. So let it shine! Part 7. Establish relationships with your target audience by learning from them. You're now in a position to provide a product or service for which your target audience will be willing to pay money, assuming you've identified your target audience and developed a marketable skill set. All you have to do now is to persuade them to take advantage of your abilities. Of course, it's easier said than done, and getting to that point entails a lengthy process. To begin, you must establish a connection with your audience and learn about their needs so that you can determine how to meet them. Reaching out to potential clients and offering them free, no strings attached consulting is one way to do so. For example, if you wanted to start a web design side gig that could turn into a one-person business, you could start by looking for people who were looking for or had already found a web designer. You can learn a lot from them by asking them about their experiences, such as how and where they look for web designers, the factors that influence their hiring decisions, the goals they're trying to achieve, the issues that lead to negative customer experiences, and the questions they have about the web design process. By answering those questions, you can start to position yourself not just as a consultant, but as a dependable authority in your field, someone with valuable expertise that others can benefit from and rely on. But once again, you're not charging any money. You're not even offering or attempting to subtly push your services at this point. You're genuinely attempting to assist your target audience in small but significant ways. The word small is crucial in this context. You're not going to redesign someone's entire website for free or anything. You're simply providing answers to questions, as well as advice, second opinions, brainstorming sessions, and other services. You could call them mini consultations. You're learning about your audience and building a reputation, as well as developing mutually beneficial relationships by doing all of this. Indeed, they've already aided you, and you've already aided them by the end of your mini consultations, and you haven't even done any paid work for them yet. Who do you think your audience will turn to for web designing services now that you've established these relationships and demonstrated their value? A stranger or you, the person they already know and trust as an authority in the field? In Paul Jarvis's own experience, the latter was true. Nearly everyone he spoke with expressed an interest in hiring him. Part 8. Avoid making large initial investments and instead aim to make a profit ASAP. You've reached the point where you can start doing real business and making money once you've established your reputation, authority, and relationships with potential clients. So now it's time to get serious about your business, right? Quitting your job, renting an office, ordering fancy business cards, and so on. You should keep your current job until your fledgling business has matured, and you should seriously consider making any significant investments in it. They're probably superfluous. A slew of technological advancements have made it possible to avoid making large investments that would have been required in the past. You can get the services of an IT department from a remote contractor. Without having to hire a cyber guru, you can gain valuable insights into your website visitors using free analytics software. If you do need to make larger investments, your strategy is probably overly ambitious. At this point, you should be thinking and acting smaller. As a future one-person company, your goal isn't to act like a traditional startup, which makes large upfront investments in the hopes of making even larger profits in the future. Your goal is to turn your company into a profitable one as quickly and inexpensively as possible. That's because, unlike a traditional startup, you won't be able to rely on large capital injections from outside investors. In the end, this is a good thing because it allows you to be far more independent than a startup, which is reliant on its investors and must seek their approval before changing course. However, this means you won't be able to burn through cash while waiting months or even years to become profitable. The more time you spend getting your business set up to make money, the less time you'll be able to earn money from it. And the more money you spend on getting it up and running, the more difficult it is to make money. After all, the higher your initial expenses, the more revenue you'll need to break even, let alone make a profit. As a result, it's critical to launch a marketable product or service as quickly and cheaply as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, just enough to get things started. Once it's up and running, your company can begin to grow through a gradual snowball effect, which we'll discuss next. Part 9. Allow your company to grow like a snowball and make additional investments as it grows. Your first product or service will almost certainly be a small-scale affair, with only a few clients, projects, or sales. Those few clients, projects, or sales, on the other hand, can lead to more clients, projects, or sales, which can lead to even more and so on, creating a snowball effect. That's what happened to Alexandra Franzen, who quit her job as a radio broadcaster 10 years ago to pursue a career as a professional writer. She didn't become successful overnight. In fact, she only landed 3 projects in the beginning. But as her initial clients hired her again or referred her to new clients, each of those projects led to another and then another. Fast forward to the present, and she now has a nearly year-long waiting list for her clients and projects. When Jeff Sheldon founded Ugmog, a small but highly successful clothing company, something similar happened. He created only 4 t-shirt designs with the help of a $2,000 loan and produced a small run of only 200 shirts, which quickly sold out. The success of the first run led to a second and then a third, and he was able to quickly repay his loan and turn a profit. While continuing to live off his day job's income, he reinvested the profits in his company, allowing him to fund more production at no additional cost to himself. He kicked Ugmonk out of his apartment for the first 2 years. He bought a warehouse only when he needed more space, which brings us to another important point. It's fine to make larger investments in a one-person business, but only when the time is right and it's necessary. Rather than trying to predict everything you'll need in the future and investing in it all at once, simply add new equipment, infrastructure, software, contractors, or whatever you need as your needs arise and your revenue allows. But keep in mind that as a one-person operation with a purposefully low scale of operations and profit, you'll have to make many of your company's needs yourself. You can't, for example, delegate your marketing to a marketer or your customer service to a customer service representative, as you can in a large corporation. You'll need to become a jack of all trades and handle the majority of these tasks on your own. Part 10. Customer service and customer retention should be prioritized. When you first start out as a one-person business, your main competitive advantage is the extreme smallness of your operation, which allows you to be very personable with your customers and focus on providing excellent customer service. You may be tempted to reduce your company's personability and service as it grows, but you do so at your own peril. After all, your personality is a big part of what makes your business appealing, and it'll be tough to persuade people to keep sending money your way if they don't like you. In turn, in today's economy, customer service is critical to success. According to a recent Harris Interactive survey, 9 out of 10 Americans are willing to spend more money on companies that provide excellent customer service, and 79% of them have declined to purchase because of poor service. Larger companies are also at risk of losing customers due to a lack of personalization and service, but many of them are fine with this because they take a churn and burn approach to customer retention. This strategy can be summarized as follows: acquire as many new customers as possible and extract as much money as possible from them. If they become dissatisfied with you and leave, no problem. Simply find new customers to replace them and make more money. Aside from the questionable ethics of that strategy, it's also not a viable strategy for a one-person business. Customer retention is critical when your budget is limited, because according to consumer research conducted by eConsultancy and Responsys, adding a new customer can cost 5 times as much as keeping an existing one. There are also the opportunity costs of customer attrition to consider. According to a study conducted by the White House Office of Consumer Affairs, a loyal customer's subsequent purchases make him worth 10 times the amount of his initial purchase. Finally, according to a study by Verizon and Small Business Trends, the happier your customers are, the more likely they are to refer you to others, and word-of-mouth referrals are the #1 way that small businesses acquire new customers. Indeed, they're so effective at increasing sales that they're 5 times more effective than paid online advertisements. So, embrace your company's small size and continue to make your company of one. This wraps up the summary from the book, Company of One by Paul Jarvis. Thank you for sticking out through the very end of this video. Nothing helps out my channel more than y'all watching the entire video. These videos take a long time to make, and is a labor of love. If you would like to contribute by buying me a cup of coffee, I'll leave the link below along with a link to this book. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and watch these videos that might pique your interest. I'll see you on the next one. Until then, keep reading.